Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Shatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, just to put today's verse into context, we described previously that the nectar of instruction takes us through the various stages of uh, the process of bhakti from Shraddha to Prema. And last week we said the previous verse, which was quite deep, displays the stage of Ashakti. And today we will enter text number 9, which will take us to the two penultimate stages of bhakti, which is bhava and prema. So very important verse, very deep verses. I will try, because of the different needs of the devotees, not to go too in depth, and at the same time, give everyone a chance to grasp what is being said. So the verse itself, text number 9. Vaikunthaj janito varo madhupuri tatrapi raso savahat vrindaranyamudara ramanat tatrapi govardhanam radha kundamipa iapi gokulapate premamritam lavanat kuryadasya virajato giritate sevam viveki nakaha. So word for word synonyms. Vaikunta, that Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. Janita, because of birth. Vara, better. Madhupuri, the transcendental city known as Mathura. Tatrapi, superior to that. Rasa Utsavat, because of the performance of the Rasa Leela. Vrinda Aranyam, the forest of Vrindavan. Udara Pani, of Lord Krishna. Ramanat, because of various kinds of loving pastimes. Tatrapi, superior to that. Govardhana, Govardhan Hill. Radha Kundam, a place called Radha Kund. Yapi, superior to this. Gokulapate, of Krishna, the master of Gokula. Premamrita, with the nectar of divine love. Aplavanat, because of being overflooded. Kuryat, would do. Asya, of this Radhakund. Virajataha, situated Giritate, at the foot of Govardhan Hill. Sevam, Sevas, Viveki, who is intelligent. Na, not. Kaha, who. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki. The holy place, known as Mathura, is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathurapuri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Rasa Leela pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Lord of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectar prem of the Lord of Gokul Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Beautiful verse. So we'll go through the purport. Let me ask someone to read. Chandrika Mataji, are you able to read?
Yes. Tell me when to stop, okay?
Okay, let me move. I think I got the wrong verse here. Just bear with me while I move
Reading
to
from
the previous. Yeah, start now. It's on the screen. You can read it, or have you got the book? Would you?
Yeah, I've got the book. So
Okay, you can read. Yeah.
the spiritual world is 3/4 of the total creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is the most exalted region. The spiritual world is naturally superior to the material world. However, Mathura and the adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to the spiritual world because the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself appeared at Mathura. The interior forests of Vrindavana are considered superior to Mathura because of the presence of the 12 forests, Vedashavana, such as Talavana, Madhuvana, and Bahulavana, which are famous for the various pastimes of the Lord. Thus, the interior Vrindavana forest is considered superior to Mathura. But superior to these forests is the divine Govardhan Hill, because Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill like an umbrella, raising it with his lotus-like beautiful hand to protect his associates, the denizens of Braja, from the torrential rain sent by the angry Indra, king of the demigods. It is also at Govardhan Hill that Krishna feeds the cows with his coward friends, and there also he had his rendezvous with his most beloved Sri Radha and engaged in loving pastimes with her. Radha Kunda at the foot of Govardhan Hill is superior to all because it is there that love of Krishna overflows. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radha Kunda because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani, Rati Vilasha.
Thank you. So let me ask Pramod Prabhu, can you read the next paragraph of the purport?
Yes, Prabhu. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, it is stated that when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first visited the area of Rajabhumi, he could not at first find the location of Radhakund. This means that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually searching for the exact location of Radhakund. Finally, he found the holy spot, and there was a small pond, there. He took his bath in that small pond and told his devotees that the actual Radhakund was situated there. Later, the pond was excavated by Lord Chaitanya's devotees, headed first by the 6 Goswamis, such as Rupa and Raghunath Dasa. Presently, there is a large lake known as Radhakund there. Srila Rupa Goswami has given much stress to Radhakund because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to find it. Who then would give up Radhakund and try to reside elsewhere? No person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radhakund, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava sampradayas, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radhakund. Thus, Radhakund is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you, Pramod Prabhu. So many wonderful aspects to this verse, which we will try to discuss. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed the entire transcendental science of devotional service to Srila Rupa Goswami in Prayag. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was discussing or speaking to Rupa Goswami, the Lord explained to Rupa Goswami that Goloka Vrindavan is the topmost planet. Now, what does it mean, the topmost planet? So we understand that the spiritual world, or the entire spiritual world, it is constituted of the Lord's spiritual energy. And the Lord's spiritual energy is absolute. There are no relatives. There is no good, there's no bad, there's no higher, there is no lower. Yet in this verse, apparently, that distinction is being made. It's being explained here in this verse how there is the Vaikuntha planets, but higher than Vaikuntha is Mathura, and higher than Mathura is Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, the highest place is Govardhan Hill. And higher than Govardhan Hill is Radhakund. So how do we understand the distinction being made between higher and lower? On what basis is this distinction being made? Bearing in mind that in the spiritual world, everything is constituted of a lot of spiritual energy. And in that sense, there is nothing relative. Obviously, that is explained in the verse itself, but I would just like to see how y'all have understood this, what is being mentioned in this verse, and on what basis the distinction is being made. And Prabhupada actually explains that in the purport. Would anyone like to say? Okay, if we go through the verse, maybe it will become more apparent. So I'll give you all the clue, and you'll probably pick it up anyway. The distinction is being made on the basis of rasa. So bearing that in mind, that the distinction is being made on the basis of rasa, let's see now, you can see how on the basis of rasa this distinction is being made. And it's actually explained in this diagram, which is a representation of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Would anyone like to offer any comments? Yes?
So Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
The highest rasa is Madhurya rasa.
Yes.
And Radha Kund is the represents that rasa.
Yes.
And the highest love is that which Radha has for Krishna and Krishna has for Radha.
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Yes. Yes. That you started at this end. So we'll go back to this end. Start at the beginning here. Okay. You rightfully expressed, and absolutely what you've expressed is correct and true. So he starts off in the verse itself. Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining on the basis of rasa. In the Vaikuntha planets, there is no birth. It's not that Krishna takes birth and Krishna is a baby. In the Vaikuntha planets, Krishna is, or the Lord is only in his form as four-armed Vishnu. And there is 3/4 of these Lord's creation is the spiritual world, and the spiritual world is superior to the material world. So there is no rasa. So Rupa Goswami says, besides Dasya Ras, Rupa Goswami says, Mathura is considered to be higher than Vaikuntha. Why? Because in Mathura, Krishna appeared. This is where Krishna made his appearance in the material world. And that means when he appeared as a baby. And when you appear as a baby, what type of ras is there? When someone considers Krishna to be their child, what type of ras is that?
Vatsalya ras, isn't it?
Vatsalya.
Vatsalya ras.
Yeah.
Vatsalya ras. So on the basis of rasa, on the basis that Mathura has Vatsalya ras, where there are certain devotees, they feel that Krishna will not survive as a child unless they take care of him. And this type of rasa, it is more appealing to Krishna. Everyone else depends on Krishna. And as Prabhupada says, sometimes Krishna becomes a little bored with that sometimes. But when he finds someone who he has to feel completely dependent on, who think that Krishna is completely dependent on them, then that is very relishable to Krishna. That is a special type of rasa. Now, why is Vrindavan considered to be superior to Mathura? What happens in Vrindavan? What is a really special activity of Vrindavan?
The Krishna Rasa Leela pastimes takes place.
Rasa Leela pastime, yes. In Vrindavan, Krishna performs his Rasa Leela pastimes. And Prabhupada talks about the 12 forest vanas of Vrindavan. And the Rasa Leela is considered to be the highest pastime of the Lord, because it's performed between the gopis and Krishna. Now, Govardhan is considered to be, in one sense, although it's part of the Vrindavan area, the wider Vrindavan area, Govardhan is considered to be even higher. And there are a few reasons given for that. What are the reasons why Govardhan is higher than Vrindavan? It's here.
He lifted the hill.
Yeah, one is it's Krishna personally touched the hill. And we also know that that 7 days that Krishna held up Govardhan hill, those were very, very special times. Because all of the residents of Vrindavan who were there, they had Krishna all to themselves. And there was a great intimacy. Sometimes it is said that actually Lord Krishna was more upset with Lord Brahma for stealing the cows and the calves and the cowherd boys, rather than he was upset with Lord Indra for what he did sending the Samvastaka clouds. Because Lord Brahma, he separated Krishna from the cows and the calves and his cowherd boyfriends. Whereas Indra, through what he did, although it was bad intention, it actually brought Krishna closer to his devotees. So that is one reason. And secondly, in terms of rasa, when Krishna performs Rasa Leela in Vrindavan, he performs that with a wide range of gopis. We all know, as they say in in the Brahma Samhita that Krishna has very large number of gopis. But Krishna, even in among the gopis, there are gradations of gopis. There's like inner and inner and inner and inner circle. And then you get the really inner circle. So at Govardhan Hill, Krishna performed the Rasa Leela with a very select group of gopis. Therefore, it's considered to be higher than Vrindavan. And then Sri Radha Kund, it is considered to be the topmost for many reasons. And Prabhupada lists them out. And but the main reason being is there is the pastime where at one stage Srimati Radharani left the rasa dance and went to the area that is commonly known as Radhakund. And there Krishna and the other gopis searched for her and then found her out. And that was even a closer knit of devotees. And Sri Radhakund, actually, it is at the foot of Govardhan Hill. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives a little history of how Radhakund was formed. We all know the original Radhakund, how it was formed. Krishna killed the bull demon, Aritrasur, and then the gopis accused him of becoming contaminated. And, Krishna called all of the holy rivers and bathed in it to purify himself. And Krishna accused the gopis of becoming contaminated because they associated with him. And then the gopis, with their bangles, they dug out Radhakund. And that was a very, very intimate pastimes in Krishna Leela. So for many centuries after the disappearance of Lord Krishna, practically the location of Radhakund was lost. Nobody really knew where Radhakund was. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he went to Vrindavan, one of the missions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he gave this mission to his disciples also, that they should excavate the lost holy places of Vrindavan, which over the passage of time had become lost. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he located Sri Radhakund, the exact place. And he said, this is Sri Radhakund. And then Mahaprabhu instructed the Goswamis to re-establish these holy places. So they excavated Sri Radhakund. And now we see that particular place. If we have time, maybe we can show the video how sometimes the devotees in Braj, they drain Radhakund and they clean, in one sense clean, but they do seva. They do seva for Radhakund. And eventually you'll see that there's a little remaining. There's just like a little pond in the middle of the kund. That was what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu located. So Sri Radhakund is the most holy of places. Now, in terms of rasa also, we understand that there is Santa ras, there is Dasya ras, servitorship, there's Sakya ras, friendship, there's Vatsalya ras, parental affection, and there's Madhurya ras, conjugal affection. So these rasas, maybe I'll, this is a bit, I won't get too into it just in case I lose anyone here. And these technical terms are all covered in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but we understand That in bhakti there's two paths. There's the path of sadhana and there's the path of sadhya or perfection. Some people, the moment they take birth, by dint of their previous birth, they naturally have spontaneous love for Krishna. And they are called Siddha Bhaktas. And maybe sometime when we discuss Nectar of Devotion, we can talk a bit more about these particular aspects. But through the path of sadhana, there is two types of sadhana, Vaidhi sadhana, Raganuga sadhana. And through Vaidhi sadhana, one can come to the stage, through the various stages to bhava and then prema. And that is sometimes it's called in inverted commas, simple prema. Then one goes to the Vaikuntha planets. If one got the seed of Vraja Bhakti, then one furthers his Bhakti through the path of Raganuga Bhakti, and then one goes to the various stages, and then one comes to the stage of Prema. And when we come to the stage of Prema, normally the body can't take Prema. At that point in time, one gets transferred to the planet within the material world where Krishna is performing his Vrindavan pastimes. As we sit here at the moment, in some planet, in some universe, Krishna is performing his Vrindavan pastimes. In one planet, he may be just taking birth. In one planet, he may be lifting up Govardhan Hill. This is all Nitya Leela. So what would happen is, if one reaches the stage of Prema through Raganuga Bhakti, one would go to the planet where Krishna is performing his pastimes. And then one can further advance. There are higher and higher stages of Bhakti. Above Prema, there is Sneha. Sneha means affection. Above Sneha, there is Man. After Man, there is Pranaya. After Pranaya, there is Rag. And it is said that to enter even Dasya Ras in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, there has to be Rag. Then higher than Rag is Anurag. Then this is Bhava, that's another type of Bhava. And then there's Mahabhav. Srimati Radharani is the embodiment of Mahabhav. She's the only Srimati Radharani can have the highest stage of the symptoms of Mahabhav. So therefore, Shri Radhakund, from the perspective of rasa, is considered to be the highest, because it's there that Srimati Radharani displays Mahabhav. So I didn't want to make it too technical. I think this just gives the gist of the verse. And then I'll discuss one other interesting pastime in the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which displays the difference or why Vrindavan is considered to be higher than Vaikuntha. There are many people who believe that Vaikuntha is the highest planet. And it's very interesting pastime. But before I do that, I just want to see if anyone's got any questions, comments, or reflections on what we discussed so far. And maybe while we're talking about Vrindavan, sorry, before you go there, I'll also briefly discuss what it means to live in Vrindavan. But before I go there, anyone's got any comments, questions, or reflections? Okay. So we know there is Gokul Vrindavan and there's Goloka Vrindavan. Gokul Vrindavan is that Vrindavan which is manifest in this earthly planet, and Goloka Vrindavan is that Vrindavan which exists eternally in the spiritual world. So the Vrindavan, Vrajabhumi, which is about 2 hours north of Delhi. Many of us have been there. Is everyone on today's call been to Vrindavan, Gokul Vrindavan? Has anyone not been to Gokul Vrindavan? Everyone's been.
Not me, Prabhuji.
Okay, you've not been yet. Mayank?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, all right. It's a nice desire to cultivate. So everyone else has been through that Vrindavan. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that this Vrindavan that we go to, many people when they go to that Vrindavan, go Gokul Vrindavan, which is about 2 hours north of Delhi. Some of people become disappointed because when they go there, they expect to see the 12 green forests, the lakes, the cows, and when you land there, you see drains, you see pigs, animals, and many things that we may not have expected. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that there is a veneer that is actually covering the actual Vrindavan. Even that veneer has its own potency. But we can sometimes not understand that real Vrindavan, which is even higher than Vaikuntha. So one of our acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, he wrote a wonderful book and explaining about the glories of Vrindavan. And he wrote 6 qualities that one should have to live in this Vrindavan. I know I spoke about it previously and I shared it with different of y'all in different forums, but I always am inspired to read it again. So he says these are the 6 qualities one needs to live in Vrindavan. And the first quality he writes, and he calls it Sri Vrindavanam Avasit. He says to live in Vrindavan, you must feel that Radha, Muralidhar's lotus feet, are the one and only object of your love. Meaning, to really be a true resident of Vrindavan, we must consider that anything else in life is useless besides the lotus feet of Shishi Radha Muralidhar. Meaning we should not feel that there's anything higher than this. And if we feel that we can't have this, then life is not worth living. It's completely vacant, it is completely void. So this is the first quality, a very important quality. It's not that, oh, we don't have this shelter. We can go on, we'll be happy. Once one person met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he said to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are the greatest devotee. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that statement. He said, if I was a true devotee, I wouldn't be living because I'd be feeling so much separation from Krishna. The fact that I am living means I can't really consider myself a devotee. So the next quality here is you must think that others' wives are your mothers. Matri, Yati, Aparanganam. Or if you're a wife, you should consider all other men, your sons, besides your husband, as your sons. Now this is a very, it seems like something very simple, but it's a very high consciousness. Meaning that practically one has become completely free from lust or the desire to enjoy another living entity. One is in the consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna. Everything should be for Krishna's enjoyment. The third quality, one must think that one who severely rebukes you is your own family member. Gotriyat yati tarjan adishu. Meaning that we must be outside the false ego, outside the conception that we are the material body. Because one can only be in this consciousness where someone rebukes you, any stranger rebukes you, and you think that that stranger is your family member. Ordinarily, like in a family, if someone shouts at you or rebukes you, you don't take it too seriously because you have an intimate relationship. They're part of your family. But if some stranger rebukes you or rebukes us, then we take it very badly. We get angry, we get antagonistic to the other person. So this means that one must be beyond the false ego. Beyond the false ego means we see every living entity as our family member. And the next one is pretty similar. You must think that all moving and non-moving living entities in Vrindavan are your own lovely children. Stira charam sattvam su putriyate. Every living entity. I have one video. Wish I could share it with you all. I'll see if I can find it maybe some other time. This is one video I saw recently. There was one one monkey got electrocuted. You know, in Vrindavan, there's a lot of power lines and not so much safety conscious there. So one monkey got electrocuted by the wires. So these two young boys, residents of Vrindavan, they take the monkey and then they keep, you know, when like someone you apply this technique of keep massaging them to revive. These two boys, they're trying. And then one old resident of Vrindavan comes with a blanket and he says, move, cover the monkey. And they keep trying, and eventually they managed to revive this monkey. And by that time, a big crowd gathered, you know, other residents, sadhus, and everyone. And when that monkey got up, they were all so happy. Now we all know how naughty the monkeys in Vrindavan are. We can get really angry with them. Nowadays, they steal practically everything. You know, your glasses, your bead bag, nothing spared. And the only time you can get your thing back is if you offer them some fruity. So nowadays, these people in Vrindavan, they just make a living by fruity. So sometimes they'll wait and monkeys will come steal the glasses and people get panicking, my glasses. And from nowhere, the people with the fruity will come. And they'll throw the fruity to the monkey. And the monkey will drink the fruity and then throw the glasses down. And then you'll give the man who gave the fruity, you're so happy, you give him 200-300 rupees. So in Vrindavan, all living entities, moving and non-moving, they are all considered to be one's own lovely children. That is the consciousness of the residents of Vrindavan. The next one, you must see your envious haters as great friends. Maham nitriyate dve shishu. This is again, how can you consider your envious haters as good friends? You can only do that if you can see from a certain perspective, from the perspective of we being the eternal spirit soul. And we see that everyone is just acting out of their own nature. As Krishna tells Uddhava in the Bhagavad Gita, one should not criticize anybody. One should not despise anybody. We should just see that everyone is simply acting according to their own nature and their own karma. The soul is aloof from all of that. So one should be in this consciousness. And lastly, you must see your own body as a stranger to yourself. The eternal soul, ya svange anya gatriyate. And this is from the Vrindavan Mahim Mamrita 881. It's a beautiful book, Glorifying Vrindavan. So this is the consciousness of the residents of Vrindavan. It's a very high consciousness. And those who live in Vrindavan, they have that consciousness. Any reflections on that? Okay. I'll now move to a nice pastime in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is from the Madhya Leela, chapter 14, entitled The Performance of the Vrindavan Pastimes. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to every year observe the Ratha Yatra festival in Jagannath Puri. And every year, all of Mahaprabhu's associates from Bengal would come and observe the Ratha Yatra festival, and they would engage in very sweet pastimes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we know that Lord Jagannath's temple is considered to be Kurukshetra, and Gundicha temple is considered to be Vrindavan. So the whole festival of Ratha Yatra is the residents of Vrindavan going to see Krishna in Kurukshetra and then pulling him back to Vrindavan. Therefore, the whole pastime is Lord Jagannath goes during the Yatra, he leaves his temple, he gets pulled to the Gundicha temple, he stays there, I think it's for 5 days. And then there's another festival called Era Panchami. And the festival of Era Panchami is when Lakshmi Devi sends her associates to Gundicha. And when they go to Gundicha, then they harass the servants of Lord Jagannath. They mock them and they criticize them and so on. So one year, this whole pastime was taking place. And Srivas Thakur was part of the entire entourage of Lakshmi Devi. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on the sides of the resident of Vrindavan. And among Mahaprabhu's pastimes, associates, Swarup Damodar, Goswami was like the chief. So at one time, there's this discussion took place. Srivas Thakur started to glorify about how the planet of Vaikuntha of Lakshmi Devi is far superior to Vrindavan. There are some people who are in that mood, or Vaikuntha mood. They consider that Vaikuntha is superior to Vrindavan. So I'll read this one pastime. So Srivas Thakur, in a joking mood, he says, he's talking to Swarup Damodar Goswami, he says, "My dear sir, please hear, just see how opulent my goddess of fortune is. As far as Vrindavan's opulence is concerned, it consists of a few flowers and twigs, some minerals from the hills, a few peacock feathers, and a plant known as gunja." So the point he's making is Vaikuntha is just full of opulences, rubies, gems, you name it, gold. And if you go to Vrindavan, what do you saying? What do you see there? You see some flowers, some twigs. You get a few minerals on Govardhan Hill, maybe some peacock feathers, which are beautiful. And there is this plant called the gunja plant. It's got like red beads with black, like a black center. And then he says, when Jagannath decided to see Vrindavan, he went there. And upon seeing this, the goddess of fortune experienced restlessness and jealousy. She wondered, this is Lakshmi Devi, why did Lord Jagannath give up so much opulence and go to Vrindavan? To make him a laughing stock, the goddess of fortune made arrangements for much decoration. Then the maidservants of the goddess of fortune said to the servants of Lord Jagannath, why did your Lord Jagannath abandon the great opulence of the goddess of fortune, and for the sake of a few leaves, fruits, and flowers, go see the flower garden of Srimati Radharani? So they're mocking the servants of Lord Jagannath. They're saying, what's going on with your Lord? He's got all of these opulence. He leaves it and he just goes to a place where there's a few leaves, fruits, and flowers. And they say, your master is so expert at everything, but why does he do such things? Now bring your master before the goddess of fortune. In this way, all the maidservants of the goddess of fortune arrested the servants of Jagannath, bound them around the waist, and brought them before the goddess of fortune. So this is what happening. They went to the Gundicha temple, caught Lord Jagannath's servants, brought them, arrested them, and brought them before Lakshmi Devi. When all the maidservants brought Lord Jagannath's servants before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, the Lord's servants were fined and forced to submit. All the maidservants began to beat the Rath cart with sticks, and they treated the servants of Lord Jagannath almost like thieves. This is a pastime that's going on. Finally, all of Lord Jagannath's servants submitted to the goddess of fortune with folded hands, assuring her that they would bring Lord Jagannath before her the very next day. Thus being pacified, the goddess of fortune returned to her apartment. Just see, my goddess of fortune is opulent beyond all description. Srivas talking. So Srivas Thakur continued to address Swarab Damodar. Your gopis are engaged in boiling milk and churning yogurt, but my mistress, the goddess of fortune, sits on a throne made of jewels and gems. So they're saying, these gopis that you'll follow, all they do is they milk cows, they make yogurt, and they do simple village tasks, whereas Lakshmi Devi sits on a throne made of jewels and gems. Srivas Thakur, who was enjoying the mood of Narad Muni, thus made jokes. Hearing them, all the personal servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to smile. So let's see that this is very interesting how they responded to this criticism of how Vaikuntha is superior to Vrindavan, and the response is so brilliant. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Srivas Thakur, my dear Srivas, your nature is exactly like that of Narad Muni, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like Narad Muni, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's opulence is having a direct influence on you. Okay, Divya Gorangi Matsi, that's fine. Swarab Damodar is a pure devotee of Vrindavan. He does not even know what opulence is, for he is simply absorbed in pure devotional service. Swarab Damodar then, speaking on behalf of Vrindavan. My dear Srivas, please hear me with attention. You have forgotten the transcendental opulence of Vrindavan. The natural opulence of Vrindavan is just like an ocean. The opulence of Dwaraka and Vaikuntha is not even to be compared to a drop. So he's making a very big statement he's saying here. He's saying Vrindavan's opulence is so great that if you take the opulence of Vaikuntha and Dwaraka, it is not even a drop. Now he's going to substantiate his statements, which is wonderful. He says, Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. And his complete opulences are exhibited only in Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan Dham is made of transcendental touchstone. Its entire surface is the source of all valuable jewels, and the Chintamani stone is used to decorate the lotus feet of the maidservants of Vrindavan. So the first thing is he's saying, you are talking about how much opulence you got, all these gems and jewels. Huh? Did you know that all of these gems and jewels, they come from the Chintamani stone? And do you know that the entire Vrindavan, it is made out of Chintamani stone? And do you know that it is the source of that stone? So what to speak of your opulence? Then he goes to talks about these so-called creepers and trees. He says Vrindavan is a natural forest of desire trees and creepers, and the inhabitants do not want anything but the fruits and flowers of those desire trees. And he says, in Vrindavan, we have these desire trees, kalpavrikshas. They can give you anything you want. Anything you want, these trees can give you. So they are not any ordinary creeper, but these are desire trees. And then it says, Forget the trees and plants. Let me now talk about the cows or the animals there. He says in Vrindavan, there are cows that fulfill all desires. They call kamadhenus. And they are unlimited in number. They graze from forest to forest and deliver only milk. The people want nothing else. These cows, whatever eatable, whatever you desire, they can produce these kamadhenu cows. Although they can produce everything, the residents of Vrindavan are so full with their bhakti that they only desire the milk. They don't want anything more. Then he says, let's just talk about the nature of the people. He says in Vrindavan, the natural speech of the people sounds like music, and their natural motion resembles a dance. He's saying in Vrindavan, when they don't talk, when they open their mouth, only music comes out. And they don't simply walk. When they walk, every step is a dance. Okay, let's forget that. Let's talk about the water. The water in Vrindavan is nectar, and the Brahmajyoti effulgence, which is full of transcendental bliss, is directly perceived there in its form. So the Brahmajyoti is coming from Vrindavan. And he says there, the gopis there are also goddesses of fortune. You got only one goddess of fortune. But in Vrindavan, each gopi is a goddess of fortune. And they surpass the goddess of fortune who resides in Vaikuntha. And he says in Brahma Samhita, there are hundreds and thousands of such goddesses of fortune. And in Vrindavan, Lord Krishna is playing his transcendental flute, which is very dear companion. Then the damsels of Vrindavan, the gopis, are super goddesses of fortune. He's saying they're not only goddesses of fortune, they are super goddesses of fortune. And he goes on to explain how all water is nectar, all talking is singing, all walking is dancing. Then he says, do you know that the anklets of the damsels of Raja, they are made of chintamani stone? That which you are considering to be so opulent, they use this on their feet. And these trees, they produce flowers and everything that's desirable. And when Srivas Thakur then began to dance in ecstasy, he vibrated sounds by slapping his armpits with the palms of his hands, and he laughed very loudly. So when Swarab Damodar Goswami described how Vrindavan is unlimitedly more opulent than Vaikuntha, he became very happy and he danced and sang in ecstasy. So I thought this is a very nice verse that explains how, though people may think that Vrindavan is just a simple village and Vaikuntha is more opulent, Vrindavan is more opulent in all respects. As it's explained here, the opulence of Vaikuntha and Dwaraka is not even like a drop to the opulence of Vrindavan. I will stop here and see if there's any questions, comments, or reflections. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just one question here. I can understand that the starting point is saying that Goluk, Vrindavan, and then goes to the Vrindavan in this lok, and then going to Radhakunda. But ultimate aim of any Vaishnava would be going to Golok Vrindavan, right? That's the ultimate aim. So why is it because humanly you can't go now? So that's why it's being stressed that Vrindavan here and then Radhakund would be the place where you should be staying. But why the Golok Vrindavan? In that sense, it's given the lower importance in this verse.
Because there's no distinction between, in one sense, between Gokul Vrindavan and Goloka Vrindavan. Prabhupada used to give the example of the embassy. You know, if you go to the American embassy in London, you're considered to be in America. All the laws of America apply there, and you are in America. So, coming back to your question, in one sense, that's what we can relate to now. The Lord has brought the embassy of Goloka Vrindavan to this planet, and it's non-different. It's not different in any way. It's no less. The Radhakund here, Govardhan Hill here, is no less than the Govardhan Hill in the Radhakund or the Vrindavan that it is in Goloka Vrindavan. That distinction is not made. It is made up of the same spiritual substance. Gokul Vrindavan on our earthly planet is a completely spiritual place. Although we may not see it, be able to see it and know it, we can know that if one is sufficiently pure, one can see that they are non-different. But according to our vision, we may draw some distinction. So it's not that Goloka is being made to seem less. It is just that it's being looked at from the point that they are not non-different. I hope I understood your question, Kishore Prabhu. And
no, I think you did, because you mentioned that this is embassy. I think that's the right analogy here. So I relate to that.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. So Vaikuntha is where Lord is four-handed Vishnu, which is also a spiritual world, but different from Golaka Vrindavan. And so only those who worship and meditate on the form of the Narayan Lord would go to Vaikuntha? Or
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Only only those who have the seed of Raja Bhakti or have the seed of a desire to serve Krishna in that certain ras will go to the Goloka. And as Prabhupada said, that is mainly prevalent in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. The other Sampradayas, they would not consider Radhakund to be the highest planet. They do not understand. Because they do not understand the position of Srimati Radharani, they would not understand the position of Radhakund. Because they are in a different mood. They are in the mood of Vaikuntha, so they can't. You know the story said in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lakshmi Devi, once she wanted to become a gopi. She desired to become a gopi. So they told her, if you want to become a gopi, you have to become a milkmaid. We'll train you how to milk the cows. We'll train you how to make cow patties. We'll train you how to churn yogurt into butter and so on. And then you can come as a gopi. And she said, no ways. I can't give up my opulence. So there are certain people, it's just their constitutional position. They find opulence more attractive than cows and yogurt and all of that which happens in Vrindavan. So according to what you find more attractive, you'll go to that place in the spiritual world, which is Vaikuntha. And if you are in that mood of the Vrajavasis, then you'll go to Vrindavan.
So Prabhuji, somebody's a Ram Bhakta,
Yes.
they go to a Vaikuntha planet.
No, Lord Ram also has his own planet, Ayodhya. They go to that planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a quick question to add to that. So if they're in Vaikuntha, then there is a chance of coming back down. But if they go to Goloka Vrindavan, they would never return.
No, in Vaikuntha, they're completely happy. They're completely satisfied. They do not desire anything else in that relationship with the Lord. In Santa Ras or Dasya Ras, they're completely satisfied. So they won't fall down. They'll just be happy and serve the Lord in Vaikuntha. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the story of Gop Kumar is given. In Gop Kumar, he goes to all of the different planets and he's never happy. He's never happy and satisfied. Finally, only when he comes to Goloka, then he's happy. So if that is your mood and that's your Swarup, you'll be happy. You won't fall down. You'll stay eternally in Vaikuntha. But if you got the seed of Raja Bhakti, serving Krishna in some different rasa, then you want to experience that. You won't be satisfied there. That is the Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. Does it make sense, Chandrika Mataji? Does that answer your question?
Totally. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I've got another question. So if
Yeah.
you were in a Vaikuntha planet, could you still develop a seed of Raja Bhakti and go Golok Vrindavan, or do you stay on the Vaikuntha planet?
No, if it's not your seed, you'd be just completely happy. You would not desire
You
anything
would
else.
desire it. Okay.
But you may be in the Vaikuntha planets, and if you got the Raja Bhakti, seed of Raja Bhakti, like how Gop Kumar was, then you would want to go to
And you
Vrindavan.
could still do that. You could still go
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah. Krishna will make some arrangement.
Thank you.
Okay. Hope that was not too much. It's nice discussing Vrindavan. So we'll stop here. Divyanam Prabhu has asked me to give the chat class today, so I need to do a little preparation for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All
Prabhuji.
glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.